Hi, I'm Pam Heller, AccuQuilt's cutting expert.
And I'm Erica Botker, AccuQuilt's creativity expert.
We love Quilt-As-You-Go projects. And this one is the perfect marriage of AccuQuilt and June Tailor. It's the Go Cutter cover. This cover allows you to keep your Go Cutter dust-free when it's not in use.
And it looks really cute. Now, if you're not familiar with June Tailor products, the pre-printed batting allows you to add fabric sections while quilting your project all at the same time. June Tailor products have been around for decades, helping quilters and sewists make fast and easy projects just like this one.
So the sections of the batting are already pre-printed. And here's the body, and then here's the two sides.
Okay.
Now, we want to talk about this for a minute because the solid line here are placement lines.
Okay.
Okay, and this dot and dash line, that's actually where you're going to sew.
Okay.
And then, again, here, the dot and dash line.
Okay.
So there's just keep in mind that you want to read the instructions and know where you're going to go.
How often do we say that?
Now, also, be sure not to use a hot iron directly on this raw batting.
Right.
When pressing seams, use the June Tailor Magic Seam Wand.
That's right. All right, so let's get started.
All right, let's move this.
Now, as a first step, we have already sprayed our fabrics all with June Tailor Quilter's Starch Savvy and pressed them out. Starch Savvy keeps your fabric nice and crisp, easy to cut, also easy to finger press. We've also pre-cut our fabrics using AccuQuilt strip dies, although you could certainly use a rotary cutter. And you're going to have to cut some larger sections by hand.
Now, we've also used June Tailor basting spray to attach the backing, which is this green.
Yes, or the lining.
The lining, yes, to the batting. Then we stitched along this dot and dash line, okay? And this is really an important step, which allows you, when you're adding the pieces, then to turn it over and stitch on that line so everything stays down.
You're gonna see everything, yes. Okay, and you also wanna stitch around these lines. And really the key here is to be able to see those stitches. So you may want to use, like Pam did on this one, a different color thread than your fabric.
Yep, yep. And this is for the handle.
Right, right.
I know, pretty fun.
So next you're gonna place the fabric piece 1 on the section marked piece 1. And then you have a couple of options for sections 2 and 3. Now, you can use an 8-inch finished block, which we did in one of our examples that we have here on the set, from a bob die or from your 8-inch mix and match cube. It's a great way to use up an orphan block you might have sitting around or just some scraps. Now, if you want to use a solid block, you'll need to cut 3-inch by 8.5-inch strips to go on either side of that 8-inch block.
And this was super slick because you could, once you've sewn these together, and we're going to show you how we are going to put it together, then you could come back and stitch here or add some decorative stitching. It's just really kind of quilter's choice. And you're going to notice that this section 2 and 3, which I have here, is just a little bit bigger.
Yep.
Okay? So you just kind of want to line things up, all right?
That's right.
All right, so Miss Erica, so what we're going to do, and look here. See this line here? This extends. And the dash lines here are there to center your pieced design so you don't have to guess. So now I'm going to put this section here.
Okay.
And I'm just going to make sure the overhang is about the same. And then look, I'm going to line it up here where the extension is.
And this might be a good time. Some of us might want to use a couple of pins here just to keep everything together. And again, because we're sewing through all the layers, we're getting our sewing together and our quilting all done in one step. You could also add some decorative stitches.
Oh,
you
for
could
sure.
add applique. There's a lot of different ways that you could really embellish this and make it your own. You could use our alphabet dies and put your name on it, or the name of your, if you've named your cutter, you could put your cutter's name on it.
And I'm just going to make sure that as I'm stitching that I'm stitching 1/4 inch from that solid line. So now let's just flip it over, and we have a couple of different options here.
Right. So you can use just your seam wand to really press that out. You're going to get that nice crisp seam like you're seeing here because we used our Starch Savvy. Or you can even take the edge of this and go ahead and heat it up on your iron. So just heat the wood up on your iron and then use the warm wood.
Right.
As well.
Right. And we have June Tailor fabric glue sticks, so you could put some pieces down here and glue it.
Right.
To keep it in place. And then you're going to take the same piece, and I thought this was important, to make sure that have the same on the same side.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to do that same process there. And then we have smaller little pieces that fit in sections 4 and 5.
Okay, so again, this one, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put it just like this and line it up. So our 1/4 inch seam, flip it over.
Yes.
And then we'll be ready to line it up and flip it over.
So then, once that's done, we're gonna flip this over, and I'll show you one that we've already done. But once you've added all the pieces, then you're just going to come back and stitch again on this line that we have already stitched. And that's going to hold
all
the pieces from the front
Fabulous.
Down, right? And make sure you do here where the handles are.
That's right.
Okay.
That's important too.
Then you're going to trim it just 1/8 of an inch all the way around from that stitching line. And then how do you think we're going to cut these?
Very carefully.
We are. We're going to take a rotary cutter and just put a little slit in there.
Yes.
Then we're going to take our really good sharp scissors and we're going to trim just 1/8 of an inch all the way around. You don't want to cut through that.
Right, because that's holding,
It's
that's our
holding,
glue. It's holding us together.
it's holding all the fabric together. All right. All right, so now let's show you one we've already done. We've added the sides, we've trimmed out the middle. Okay, so we're going to come back to this in just a second because we're going to talk about the binding.
Oh, yes.
So we need a left side and a right side.
Okay.
Okay, so side A.
Oh,
and
because we've got a little handle hole here.
Right, right.
Yeah,
so they're
it's gonna
different.
slide right over. Love it.
Okay, so just like the other piece, I've added the lining. And then I've stitched on this dot dash line.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you how we do that. It takes a little while to do it on the big piece, so I thought I'd do it on the little piece.
Okay.
So I've lined up my fabric.
Okay.
Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch along this line. When you get to those curves, slow down, take a few stitches, keep your needle down, lift up your presser foot. And since we've stitched, now we know that we can just come like 1/8 of an inch and just take our ruler and our rotary cutter and be so careful. And then I'm going to cut the curve with my very sharp scissors.
That is a great tip. Yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering how you were going to do that. I'm thinking,
Very carefully.
I would do that with my scissors.
Very carefully with my very sharp scissors. Okay. And remember, we're going to bind this, so it's okay if it's not. It's a little jagged there on the edge. Let's talk about this binding.
Yes. And
Okay.
again, Pam's already mentioned, we've got some curves we're working with here. So that's going to mean bias binding. But there's great options for you on how to get to bias binding to use.
Right.
If you want to use your strip dies, you absolutely can do that. And you know, you can cut bias binding, bias strips on your strip dies. Go ahead and check out our videos. We've got several showing you how. If you're not up for that or you don't want to do that, you can also purchase some, let's see, this is 1/2 inch wide,
1/2 inch wide,
double binding, double
Yes.
fold binding.
extra wide, double fold.
Yep.
This to me is already
This
made.
is like the perfect color too.
It's already made, so I'm just gonna use it because it's already made.
Right. So you're going to do the bottom edge first.
Right.
And the nice thing about the double fold binding, and again, you can totally make your own, the directions on how to do that. You're going to find those in the instructions for the project. But it's going to open up. It's already got those raw edges folded in.
Right, because that's what you don't want on
Right.
this pretty. You don't
Right.
want the
We
raw
don't want
edges.
raw edges. So, oh, you clever girl.
Yes.
Fabric glue stick is a great way to go. Now, if you haven't used the June Tailor one before, it's a great product. It goes on purple, but it dries clear, so you can see where you've been. But you know what? All glue sticks are not created equal,
Oh, yeah.
and you want to be sure you're using a fabric glue stick. They just work better on fabric than any old school glue stick would.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it right here to the center to the fold.
Right.
And I'm going to press down because now the back of this is going to stick because I've glued it here.
Oh, look at that. Isn't that?
And then
Yep.
it looks pretty. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So now all you have to do is go stitch just inside that outer edge, like about 1/8 of an inch.
Yep. And then do you want to talk about the one that I did there that has a curve, Erica?
Right, so this one does have a curve. So you would start over on the side and then miter this corner. Because it's cut on the bias, it's got stretch and fold. So it's gonna just go right around here. And you're gonna, again, do another miter and off the edge. Now, as you go around here, if you find it's bunching up, stop your machine with your needle down, pick up your presser foot, smooth it out, put it down, keep going. Just take your time. It's gonna be all worth it in the end.
Okay, so now we have two sides, and then I'm just going to come right here with my rotary cutter and trim them off. Okay. And this was super fun because we used our AccuQuilt fabric, so we had a variety of colors and designs and all the things. Okay, so not only did we run that bias tape here on the handles,
Right.
but we also added a piece
Across
on
the
either
bottom.
side.
Okay.
Okay.
So now it's time, now we're ready to go ahead and finish this by putting it together, right?
Yes. All right, so what I'm gonna do then is I am going to start here and do like 1,000,000 binding clips.
Oh, okay.
Because when we get here,
Yes, we're gonna go around that curve. And it's really a gradual curve. Don't panic on us. But
Right.
pins or binding clips are gonna be your friends.
Right.
Before anybody says anything, you know, usually we're putting our right sides together and now we've got our
Yes.
wrong sides together.
Yes.
Well, that's because this is gonna create some bulk. And so rather than putting it inside a seam and turning it right side out, we're gonna be binding this outer seam.
right, so you wanna show them there on the finished cover.
Right, so on our finished covers, you'll see, just because we've got that thickness, it wouldn't lay as nicely and smoothly if we turned it right side out. It's also kind of a design choice because it's gonna give you that little pop of flair. With this, we've used that pink accent color and it just really kind of pops on it.
You can follow the pattern and read the instructions on how to do this. This is just one way I like to do it. So I'm actually gonna stitch here, Erica, 1/4 of an inch all the way down.
Okay.
So that I don't have the bulk of it in the sewing machine.
Awesome, okay.
And now, here's the trick. You want to make sure you get the lip of that bias. So if it's under
Oh.
you want to lift up your presser foot. And it's going to hide in the bias tape that we put around on the outside.
But again, we want it to be nice and smooth.
And just because we want to make sure that it's stitched all the way there.
That's right.
Okay, now
We're gonna go.
Now we're gonna go this way, and we're gonna start with bindy clips, so many of them. Don't be afraid to use a bunch, okay?
Yes.
And I'm probably gonna put 10 or 12 here, and I'm gonna go all the way around this curve. And I'm gonna go so slow when I sew it together. Okay, and then once I get to here, then I'm down, I'm sewing straight.
You're sewing straight.
Okay, all right. And all the while, quilters,
Now, do you like to put a clip at the end so that you make sure that you keep everything all together?
sure, I'd love to. This is why Erica's here to keep me going here on the right path. So now I'm gonna start where I ended there, and I am just so slowly. I'm gonna back stitch here. And I like to keep my needle down before I pull my binding clip off. So now look at this. So see here, we've sewn this, and I'm going to take my finger
Yep.
and make sure it's
all
there
creased up there. And
together.
now we're just going to do the same binding step, right? We're
Right.
going to encase this raw edge
Yes.
with that double fold bias tape.
And we're just going to give you a little tip about it, because you want to have a clean edge here.
Yes.
So you want to take this tape and fold it in.
Yes.
Okay, so as we're
working so hard on this. We want everything enclosed.
yeah. So it's just going to come here. We're going to glue it. Make sure that's tucked in right there. And so around it, you could press it if you wanted. That might help. So do you want to show here on our finished one after you've sewn both sides and added?
Yeah,
the-
can I pull this one off?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so this is really fun. You can see here where we folded that up to enclose that edge, and then we've sewn it all the way around, ease it around the top. It's going to be super easy because we've got that bias tape. We've got our side for the handle with the cutout. We've got our side that's straight across. And here we go. We've got our great cutter cover, and it's got 2 layers of batting. It stands up like this, but it's just so cute, isn't it?
And it's washable, and it's going to help keep
Absolutely.
your cutter dust free and super easy to make. Be sure and share all of your finished projects with us on our social media platforms. And remember, at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time
So you can quilt and craft more.